Get Gutsy episode number 122 with Scott and Elise Grice on That's Not Crazy. Welcome to Get Gutsy. I'm your host, Jenny Fennig, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. A cutting-edge show blending business and spirituality, Get Gutsy serves up a potent blend of stories, lessons, and tips to help you make a massive impact in the world through your soul's work and your inspired life. No more going it alone, no more excuses. The world needs more brave women saying yes to leadership. Are you with me? Good. Let's get gutsy now. Hey, everybody. You know who it is, Jenny here. Super pumped to be with you for another episode of Get Gutsy. And y'all, we are basically making history right now because it's the first time I'm interviewing or chatting with two people simultaneously in addition to myself on this show. So it's like a threesome, it's a triad. We have this powerful trifecta going on for you. So just get pumped because we're doing it. And I'm so excited to talk to this amazing couple, business partners, life partners, and just overall awesome people because they've created something spectacular. Plus, they were both homeschooled. And I am homeschooling my oldest son right now. And so this gal, Elise in particular, she was super inspiring for me when I was kind of walking this road, realizing oh my gosh, I think I'm going to do this. And Elise basically said, hey, I was homeschooled, so was my husband, and we're awesome people. And so we turned out pretty well. And so I thought, wow, there's a whole crew of entrepreneurs who were homeschooled or who are homeschooling their kids. And it just gave me a lot of confidence. And I was able to walk through that. I felt like I was walking through a door. And so I'm very, very grateful for her. So let me give them their official introduction. And y'all, I should have asked, is it Grice? How do I say it? Grice. Okay, cool. Yep. Now we know. Here they are on the back end. Okay. Online educators and mentors Scott and Elise Grice are on a mission to help self-made entrepreneurs redefine success and build contagiously happy lives and businesses. Together they built Hey Sweet Pea, a thriving branding team and studio originally based in Austin, Texas, a great place. From one-on-one clients to group programs, they've coached and branded over 1,400 creative entrepreneurs in the past 5.5 years. They've since embraced an unconventional business and adventurous life on the road, which allows them to pour all their time into their signature course, My Own Irresistible Brand. Welcome to Get Gutsy, Scott and Elise.
Thank you.
We're so excited to be here today.
Super pumped.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so first off, you originally were based in Austin with this business and studio that you started together, Hey Sweet Pea, but it sounds like you're traveling. Where are you now?
Right now we're in Florida.
Okay.
So we kind of winter in Florida, hang out in Florida a little bit. So we lived on the road for almost 2 years, a little over 2 years, traveling the country in a 28-foot camper.
Wow.
And we traveled all over the whole United States. I mean, everywhere from
Key West to Vancouver, Canada.
So we went up into Canada. Stretch. And then to end our kind of life on the road for the season, we ended up spending the entire summer traveling Europe.
Wow.
And this last summer. And then we came back and we're like, hey, let's just be still for a season. We just felt this overwhelming desire just to stay still. So after traveling for 2 years, we found this amazing mid-century modern house in Florida near the beach, which is our favorite place. And we're just here for at least the next year. And we don't know what we're going to do next. We may move to New Zealand. We don't know. Yep. But we're here for right now, and we love it.
Oh, my gosh. Where exactly in Florida?
We're in the Tampa area.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, nice white beaches.
Yeah. I was born in St. Petersburg.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go. And I do have friends and family in that area still.
Oh, now you're going to have to come visit us.
I totally.
Now we have to hang out.
Do you know Adrienne Dorison, who's in the group that you and I connected through?
Yes, she's in St. Petersburg too.
Yes, you all definitely have to hook up if you haven't already. She's been on the show. And then one of my oldest, dearest friends, actually I met her in college. No, I had already graduated. We went to the same college, and I met when I was recruiting interns for my first ever corporate gig. I was a public relations executive. Anyway, her name is Abby Albaum. I don't know if y'all have crossed paths yet, but she is a hoop dancer. And if you go to if you go to that like Saturday morning market, you know the St. Pete like Saturday market, whatever, because I went when I was visiting once. It's like the biggest market in Southeast or something.
Totally.
She exhibits there, and her company is called Hula Monsters. So the next time you're there, go and say hello and say, I know Jenny Fennig, and she'll be like, oh my gosh, she's really cool.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, good for you for doing that. And I just love where you are in your life and how you're, you just go and have these adventures. So when you all were on the road, like, did you have Wi-Fi? Where'd you get Wi-Fi?
Yeah, we got Wi-Fi. We had a data plan through our phones through AT&T, and then we just connected our computers to our phones. We had like a massive data plan.
Yep.
I mean, there were definitely situations where like you would run out of data, and so we would like hole up at a Starbucks for days.
We would we'd a lot of times camp next to like these 24/7,
there you go.
24/7, Starbucks, and we would just work. That way we can kind of work whenever we wanted, because for us, we definitely, we are very systematized in our life and business, but also very spontaneous. And when you're a creative, that inspiration strikes at different times. So I might want to write in the morning, or I might want to write in the evening or in the middle of the night. So we a lot of times needed that accessibility to Wi-Fi all the time. So it was awesome because there's a 24/7 Starbucks right next to Disney World, and that's usually where we would stay all winter. So we would camp at Disney World all winter, we'd go to the Starbucks and work, and then go into the parks after and just like blow off steam and have fun, because we really like to play. That's a huge part of our life and business, is resting and playing and hustling and balancing all three of those so that everything is moving forward and we feel awesome about our life.
I love that. So how did you two meet?
So our story is kind of long, but the short version is we met at school. So we went to the same college. It was in Los Angeles, and Elise was only there for a semester before she basically the dean of her department told her she was wasting her time at school, wasn't going to learn anything, and needed to just go out and get a job.
Wow.
So she went out and got a job.
So I started working at Sony Pictures when I was like just 18, just turning 19.
So yeah, we met at school real briefly, and then over the next couple of years, we got to know each other better because my girlfriend at the time was friends with her. And so they kind of started hanging out, and we started hanging out.
And we would go to Disney together. So like Disney is kind of this huge
Disney.
part.
It's your thing.
We love Disney. And part of it is, we love playing, and we just love the aspect of kind of being able to step away from business for just even an hour or 2 hours and getting to truly play. Like, that's really important to us. But we also, because branding is like our thing, we love just how the whole branding experience, from how clean the trash cans are to how well the cast, interacts with the guests, and so the customer service side. So for us, like, it's immersing ourselves in basically what we teach and believe and do as a business as well. So yeah, Disney is our is huge for us.
It's like your spirit animal.
Yeah, but we're not those like weird people who like own.
We don't like buy merchandise.
Yeah,
we're not running around in sweatshirts.
Right, you don't have the buttons. It's like 5th anniversary. You had like your honeymoon there.
We're still trendy, but we're not.
It's like a business field trip. You're like, we're coming here and doing research.
Yeah, it's like letting somebody else's good brand, like someone else think about good branding. We don't have to think about it.
Got it. I get it. I love it. And I totally understand Disney. I mean, I grew up. I was born in St. Pete. We moved to Georgia though when I was very little, and then I moved back to New Smyrna Beach, which is just south of Daytona Beach. Right there. And so Disney was like a part of my life. It was right there. Actually, when my senior in high school, we there was this big thing. Y'all would have loved it, but it was called Grad Night. I don't know if you heard of that, but they did away with it. They did away with it, and it was like seniors would just take over Disney. We would show up at like 10 p.m. at night. Oh my God. And they would just keep the park open for us. Yeah. It was crazy. It was crazy. One of the wildest nights of my life. And because it would, you'd build up for it. You knew it was coming. Your freshman year, you're like, oh my God, Grad Night. And so it was quite a scene with all those seniors from around the world taking over Disney. It was like 2 a.m. People are like passed out on park benches and stuff. So I think they just finally were like, I'm not sure this is in alignment with Disney's brand anymore. Like, this is
They do have a play on one of the Disney cruises about that experience, like seniors going to Disney. Yeah. Remember, they actually have a show about it.
That was it. Grad Night.
That's it. That's all they have left.
That was the show. Okay, I have to check that out because we had quite an experience. Totally good times. Okay, so you met briefly in college. Elise, did that teacher just knew that you just knew more than what you were going to learn there? Like, what was that all about?
So when I was 12 years old, my dad ended up buying me the whole Adobe Creative Suite because he knew that I was interested in design. So he bought it for me, and he basically was like, whatever tutorial you want, I will buy it from you. So he used to take me to Barnes & Noble and just say, pick out whatever tutorial. You'll learn whatever program you want to learn next, whatever skill you want to learn next when it comes to design. And so I taught myself. And then I ended up getting, when I was 16 and 17, that summer, I ended up getting 5 internships at the same time. So I called myself like a freelance intern. So I interned at design studios and film studios and really got a feel for really what I wanted to do within the realm of design. And it was about that time that I went down to college, and I was like, I'd already finished my 2-year degree because I was homeschooled. So I started getting my 2-year degree when I was 16. So I finished it by the time I was 18. And I went to Biola, was the school that we went to. And I was there, and the art professor was, he was actually the head of the whole art department. And I had walked in, he called me into his office, and I walked in, and he had my project for the semester was hanging on his wall. It was the only art hanging in his whole office. And he was just like, you are better than the seniors who are here. Our program is behind where you're at. You've taught yourself more than we can teach you. Wow. So you either need to go to like an elite school or you need to just start working, because otherwise you're wasting your time and wasting your money being here. So I dropped out. So I'm a college dropout. And I ended up going back home and applying to colleges, and also kind of waiting around to hear back from them and try to decide, okay, well, where am I going to apply for work? And my dad, who came around, he was very forward thinking when it came to, he had 4 daughters. He was very forward thinking when it came to, he wanted them to have skills. That was his whole thing. So he was like, hey, jump in the car, drive down to Southern California, find yourself a job in Hollywood. Just go do it. And so I didn't even think that was kind of weird at the time. Now looking back, I'm like, I can't believe I had the guts to do that. Yeah. So I just jumped in the car and packed a bag and drove down to Southern California and never went back. I mean, I would go back to visit, but I ended up interviewing at all of the studios, like, Sony and Fox and Paramount, and ended up getting to choose which job I wanted and choosing a job at Sony. And they hired me as an 18-year-old because I had, this portfolio of work that I had done. And I also had these internships, and I showed up determined that I was going to be an asset to their company. So then I started working, and that was really my training, even, deeper, as I got to train under these art directors at Sony, and they took me under their wing for 3.5 years and taught me. And so it was an amazing experience, like all around.
So that was your college. Like, instead of going to college, you're like 3.5 years, which, it's around the time that college would be. You just trained in real life and got paid. Instead of having to pay to go to school, they paid you.
And I was always the kind of learner who was frustrated by classes that didn't teach me real world things. So I was frustrated by the design and art classes, because to me, they were making up projects. I was like, no one will ever pay me to do this kind of design. I want to work on real projects that are really going to make an impact and really going to be out there in the world. So for me, it was such a better fit, because being, working for the studio, we got to work on campaigns for Sony Pictures, but also Columbia Pictures because Sony owns them, and also other companies they're associated with like Fanta and BMW. We got to work on those campaigns. And so for me, it was like a dream come true, and it matched with my learning style so well, so much better than college did.
What a gift that professor gave you. He just saw something in you and was like, you know what? Keep your money. Go do something. Go do something different. Okay, so you're working at Sony, and then how did Scott come back into the picture?
You can tell that part.
so my I was still going to college at that point, and my group of friends would go to Disneyland every Sunday. And so some people that I knew Elise and started inviting her to come down. Yep. And so we would go basically every Sunday for like a year and a half.
Oh my God, you're like Disney frequent customers. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back then, a Disneyland annual pass was like $130.
Great. Yeah. It was like the best activity to do.
Yeah. And as a college student, that's like free entertainment.
Yeah. Right.
Once you have your pass. So we would just go all the time. We just kept going over and over, and
we're just friends.
Eventually something blossomed.
Yeah.
And then how did you all decide, like, hey, let's start this business? Like, Elise is at Sony. I guess Scott is about to graduate and figure out, what am I doing? What am I doing with this degree? How did you say, hey, let's become entrepreneurs together?
So it was actually my fault because I graduated at the height of the recession. And at that point, the statistics were about 1,000 applicants for every job opening in LA.
Even like Starbucks jobs, any job.
I couldn't even get a job at like a grocery store, bagging groceries. So for about a year and a half after I graduated, I was working like a handful of part-time jobs.
Parking celebrity cars.
Yeah, like traveling and stuff. And so finally, I was kind of like ran out of income, and my uncle called me, and he's like, he lives in Texas, and he was like, I have spare bedrooms, I have a spare truck that you can drive. There's, the economy basically in Texas was untouched by the recession. So lots of jobs out here, I'll put you up until you can get on your feet. So come on out and I'll help you find work. So I decided, to much chagrin, that I was going to.
He did not want to leave California and go to Texas.
Which I grew up in Oklahoma, so I there's a little bit of rivalry with Texas to begin with.
Right.
So I decided to go, and I was like, Elise, you have to, you can do whatever you want. I didn't want to pressure her and say, because we were really serious at that point, and we knew we wanted to get married, but we weren't engaged. And so I was like, I'm not going to ask you to come with me. I'm not like, you live your own life, do what you think you want to do. And she basically came to the point where she had gone up as far in Sony as she could go. The next step up was like an executive level, and the executives are all in their like late 40s, early 50s.
I was like 23 or something.
So she's like topped out in this business. She got like 9 promotions in 3 years or something like that.
Right.
And so she started asking the executives, like, do you own your own house? And none of them did, because they couldn't afford it, because it's too expensive in LA. So she was like, is this really the life? Like, yes, it's on paper, it's a dream job, but is this really the life that I want? And so my uncle called her and was like, hey, I have 2 spare bedrooms. You're welcome to come if you want to come. And so she thought about it and talked to a bunch of people about it, and eventually decided on her own that she was going to come with me.
Yeah. And I'd always wanted to own my own business, because I come from a generation of entrepreneurs. So like my grandpa owned his own business. My dad owns his own. My dad's an architect. He owns his own business. So this was like the life that I grew up in. Was my dad was at home. He had his own super successful business. And I loved my parents' marriage, and I loved our family life, and I loved how he was like the ultimate. I know everyone's talking about like how to balance like work life and home life. Like my dad did that 20 years ago. He had that down. And so I wanted that. I knew I wanted that life for myself eventually.
Yeah, instead of like that corporate grind.
Yeah, like I wanted my husband to be at home. I wanted us to have this life together where, like growing up, we would go, water skiing. in the middle of the week in the summer. We would go snow skiing in the middle of the week in the winter. We just had that flexibility, and we had that amazing, when you work, and then you play. Yeah. So I knew I wanted that. And so when we moved to Texas, it was kind of like, I'd never been to Texas when we moved there. It was terrifying to move and leave. You know, my family's been in California for generations. So this is like my homeland that I was leaving. And to start this business, I just felt like I kept getting this feeling that there was blessing for me in Texas. And I didn't know exactly what that meant. I just knew that there was blessing if I went. So when we went and then we started the business, and Scott, he actually ended up getting a job at Dish Network, and he was installing satellite dishes for 60 hours a week.
With a college degree.
And we got engaged, and we started the business all at the same time. Yeah. Wow. And he was working on the business when he'd come home in the evenings.
So it was like 40
and
hours working on the business and 60 hours working at Dish Network.
Yeah, yep. And then 30 days before we got married, Scott quit Dish Network.
The business was successful enough that we could afford to both work for it full time.
Yeah, it was awesome. So basically, within 6 months, we were both full time in the business.
Oh my gosh,
it was awesome.
Okay,
and
that's okay. That's amazing right there. Just like the move that you made, and how wonderful Scott's uncle, just like what an angel he was. Just, I have these extra bedrooms and I have an extra truck, and let me help you get on your feet. That's really, really beautiful. So how did you two kind of put your heads together, your expertise, your gifts, to say, like, okay, we're going to create this business and this is the problem that we're going to solve? Like, how were you super clear on that, and how did you find your first few clients?
So the truth is, it kind of happened a little bit by accident. But while Elise was still working at Sony, there were a bunch of people contacting her, asking her to do freelance jobs for them. And she kept having to turn them down because Sony had a very strict non-compete. Right. So she was turning away a lot of essentially work, like freelance work. And so she started, as she was kind of thinking about if she was going to leave Sony, she started a lot of relationships on Twitter with other people who were, designers or creatives or entrepreneurs. And so whenever she finally left and got to Texas, there were already like a bunch of people already interested in hiring her to do freelance design. Yeah. And I would take these people. So I would meet them on Twitter. We'd have these amazing conversations, just exchanging tweets back and forth. This is back when Twitter was like, way cooler than it is now. It was new.
Right. And so I would find these, photographers, designers, florists, different people who were creative entrepreneurs in LA. We would tweet a couple times, and then we'd go out to coffee. And I'd just sit there and listen to them about the things that they were struggling with. And so many of them were struggling with their website. And there's so many of them were struggling with their logo. They just did not know how to share what they did with the world. And so they would explain to me the problems with the technology and the problems, all these frustrations that they had. And so what I ended up doing was getting all of these women together. And this was before like creative groups and entrepreneur gatherings had kind of started, and especially within LA, where kind of everybody was out for themselves at the time.
Yeah, there weren't like entrepreneur meetups.
No, there weren't groups or gatherings like Rising Tide Society. Those didn't exist. So I ended up asking all these women to go out with me and just hang out and grab a meal. So I think the first time I did that, like 12 women showed up, something like that. The second month that I did it, over 60 women showed up. Oh, wow. And we did it at a park, and we did a picnic. So I handed out business cards to all these women saying, I'm leaving Sony. I'm starting my business, and I'm going to be doing logos and websites for creative entrepreneurs. Here's my business card. So of course, right away, all these people that I've connected with on Twitter, I've met in real life, they know me, they trust me, they ended up hiring me. So right out of the gate, we had customers.
And like Elise was we were so busy, right? As soon as we opened the doors, we started on October 1st. We hired our first employee by September 1st.
August 1st. August 1st, and then
we started in August 1st. Yeah. We hired our first employee a month later. So just because there was so much work, there was so much admin, like Elise couldn't be designing and doing admin, and I was coding websites in the night. Yeah. And like we just needed more help because we were so busy right out the gate.
And at the time, the truth is we didn't even realize how our strengths would mesh up into a business because Scott's background was in film. So we originally thought maybe it'll be like a film design, studio, and it'll be like that combo. And then as we were getting into
we tried that for a second.
It didn't work. And then we tried then we tried having Scott do some of those admin tasks, and that was just definitely not like, you didn't love that. You're like, I don't want to do this.
Right.
And so as we started getting into the business more and more, what we realized was that our strengths were so complementary, and we had different areas of expertise. So I get to be, I started to grow as the visionary for the company and the creative force behind it. And Scott was definitely the strategy, and he was the implementer. He was the one. I come up with a really big, huge idea that I want to make happen, and I say, I don't know how to make this happen, and he can make it happen. He can break, these very big ideas down to very small, easily accomplished tasks. So we were able to create these roles within the business that, they didn't, and we don't, neither one of us is the boss over each other. We just fused our strengths and our gifts together to create an even better business because they're so different. And I do my role and Scott does his role, and they're awesome together.
Love that. Yeah, the visionary and implementer is so crucial within a business for all of our listeners. Like, you really have to have that represented. And, and I know in my business, I am that visionary, and then I have to have those people on my team who can take my ideas and break them down and make them real, because that's when I start losing steam. That's when I'm like, can somebody else take this for me? Because I'm over here like doodling things in the shower. Okay. And so that's, thank God I have like my shower door that steams up, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like sketching things out, and then I go into and I transfer them into paper afterwards. Yes. A really nice way that you have those roles, represented in the business. So how have things evolved? Because it sounds like at first it was really one-on-one. You had these clients who wanted, some kind of brand assets developed, digital assets developed. So you did that for a bit. And then how did you move into online courses and programs? And are you still doing some of that one-on-one work as well?
So we discovered pretty early on, about a year into our design studio, like branding studio's life, that we hated working one-on-one. Just because it was, to really attack somebody's brand and
attack it,
attack it from being proactive, to really like shape somebody's brand identity. There's a lot of strategy that went into it. So projects would last anywhere from like 3 months to some of the bigger projects would last for a year.
Yeah.
And that's a long time to keep a customer happy.
Yeah. It's a long-term relationship. Yep.
Yeah. And so, like a couple projects where, you spend 11 and a half months and they love you, and then something happens in the last 2 weeks and now the whole project's ruined. It's like, I don't know how much longer we want to do this.
Right.
So we ended up, Elise wanted to do something else, but
I was so ready to quit. We did the studio, and we grew it to a team of 9. We had like 30 to 40 clients at a time.
Bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it was so big, and like all of our colleagues were juggling like 3 to 5 clients, and our team was doing 30 to 40. So it just kind of shows you like the amount of work we were doing. So we were working 60-hour weeks. Oh, yeah. We were maxed out, like. It's just so exhausted all the time.
And the team just kept getting bigger and bigger. And the bigger we grew the team, the more work we got. And the more work we got, the bigger we needed our team. And
so we were like at 3 years, I would say.
About 3 years doing that. And so Elise was like, I want to quit. I was like, you can't quit until you can come up with an idea of what else we can do.
Right. No pressure.
Because this is our only source of income, and we're not going back and getting jobs. So let's come up with an idea of what we can do else. So we were brainstorming, but nothing was really coming. And then Elise got bit by a mosquito, which gave her the West Nile virus, which then led to viral and bacterial meningitis and put her in the hospital for about 2 months.
Whoa.
So Yeah. So, you know, like she said, she was kind of like the creative head, and she really was the linchpin in our business. So when she, because of the meningitis, could barely open her eyes, she couldn't look at a screen. So I had this house of designers, you know, pumping out work that she can't approve, so I can't send them off. So basically, I'm making payroll out of our personal savings because we're not bringing in any income. And 2 months go by, and it's like we're drowning.
We just were not at all prepared, or even, we had amazing insurance, so it's not that kind of prepared, but we didn't realize how much of a linchpin I was. Yeah. We didn't realize that if something happened to Scott or something happened to me, what happens to the business? Like that just didn't even occur to us at the time.
Yeah.
And so
the
it
answer was the business dies.
Yes.
The business dies. Well, at least you didn't die. But but then you realize, wait, this business model. Well, first off, it wasn't working for you. Like you were just, that you were drowning in that. And then, wow, get bit by mosquito, West Nile virus, meningitis, like boom, boom, boom. It was, this honestly a gift from the universe, which I'm sure didn't feel like that at the time. Right. But this whole, we got to rethink everything here, like ASAP.
Yeah. And it really like bumped up the timeline. It went from like, let's daydream about what we want to do to like, we need a plan.
Yeah.
And so.
And it kind of felt like, when you hit rock bottom, you're kind of just like, okay, I'm willing to do whatever. And so for some reason, this super crazy, horrible, hard situation that we went through actually forced us to ask that question, like, if we could do anything with our lives, what would we do? Because what we're doing now is just killing us.
Right.
So we've got to figure this out. And so it really was, it was our truest, out of everything that's ever happened to us, that was like the turning point for our lives and for our business and our perspective on, we need to be smarter about building a business that gives us a life and doesn't take from it. Like we just reached that point. So it was a gift. It was a blessing. It's the biggest part of our story, now it's a huge part of it. So getting to go through all of that was nuts.
Yeah, and basically we ended up, talking through a lot of serious conversations and came to the conclusion of like, well, we still like the thing that we know inside and out is branding. Like we are experts.
We've worked with hundreds of clients,
and so why would we throw that away and like start something new that we don't know as much about? Like that didn't make sense to us.
Right.
So we were like, let's stick with our strengths. Let's stick with what we know best. And let's figure out a way to like bring our true passions and desires to life using branding. And the answer ended up being, instead of doing this for other people, let's teach people how to do it for themselves. Because branding is something that, especially on a small business scale, it has to be so deeply rooted in someone's personal identity.
Yeah.
It has to be tied to who they are as a person. If they don't care about what they're doing, then their customer's not going to care about it either. So we were like, the best brand projects we've worked on are the ones where people are like deeply connected to what we're doing. And the best way to get people deeply connected is to have them do the soul work themselves instead of paying us to do it for them. So we transitioned into, let's stop doing branding for people. Let's teach people how to do their own.
And there was
branding.
this question I remember of feeling like, can we teach people do what we do best? Like, is that possible to teach them all that we know, all that we've learned? And can they do it either as well as we could do it for themselves or even better? And the answer ended up being they could actually even create more irresistible brands if they followed, this system that we've created and perfected over years, if they did it themselves. So it's been one of the coolest transitions in our life and business, but it also it's impacting people in ways that we couldn't have before by working with one-on-one clients, charging them $10,000, $15,000. Now we get to help more and more people. And so it's amazing for us as a business and getting to help more people, which is our hearts, but it also is great for us personally,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
On a personal level, it's perfect too.
Yeah. So. And so how did you shut down the design studio? Did you sell it? Like, how did you do that? What was that pivot look like?
We killed it.
It's like, bye-bye, you're done.
Yeah, and bye. No,
people actually ask us all the time, like, do you miss it? I'm like, no. No, I don't miss it.
So Elise was in the hospital in September and October, and November 1st, we told our team that we were going to shut it down February 1st. So we gave them like a nice long period to find new jobs, and we helped get them placed in quite honestly better jobs than they had with us.
Right.
And then we used them to wrap up as many projects as we could. But once they left, it took from February to July to actually finish the rest of the projects when it was just me and Elise. And then once we finished the rest of our projects, we
actually got an email that somebody had died 5 minutes after we sent the last project off. So we had this relief. And for 5 minutes, and then we got this email, and so we had to jump in the car, and 24 hours later, we were in California, we were planning a funeral, it was, super tough 2 weeks, figuring out, state and all of that stuff. And then we came back, and the day we came back, we started building our branding school. And we lived, it was probably one of the most unhealthy times in our life because we were ready for this new part of our business to be created. And so we just kind of lived on Red Bull for a couple of months and didn't sleep. I mean, we didn't sleep. We maybe slept an hour or two a night for 3 months, 2 months, building this. Because
we were like, we just got to get it up as fast as possible.
Yeah. And it ended up being, it would be amazing. It's really cool now because there are times when we look back at these words that we wrote and these videos that we filmed, and we are amazed that it's good. It's so good. It's like our very best
like we were arrested. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes.
I think I was asleep when I wrote that.
And I always tell
people good. Well, it was like survival, and it was like like we're doing this. There's no other option. Like we've just been through hell and back. Elise almost died. Here we are, and we're freaking doing it. And so your first step was creating what is now My Own Irresistible brand.
Yep.
Is that Okay. And so what is your business now? You have that. That's it. That's the one, your signature course. Like everything is there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We actually used to have 5 mini courses that we sold as well. And those were about one was called Win an Email List. Another one was called Thriving on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So we had those for about 2 years, 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. And then this last year, we just realized, you know what? This is distracting. This is taking away from our very best work. This is distracting us. It's distracting our customer base. It's just, we need to be just focused on what we love and do best and give everything to My Irresistible brand. And then we ended up having, of course, when you make, it feels like when you make these huge kind of hard decisions like that and you're worried, are our customers going to freak out? I don't know. And then you do it. And then it ends up being, for us, it was, our biggest quarter yet of sales because all we did was focus on My Own Irresistible brand. So it ended up being an amazing kind of just a letting go process of it served our customers well. We had hundreds upon hundreds of students take these mini classes. It served us well, but it was time to let it go.
Well, it's have you read the book, The Pumpkin Plan?
No, but I've heard of it.
So it's like our book.
Your Bible.
If we talk about any book, that one.
We love it. So, but the basic concept is in order to grow a big pumpkin, you have to cut off all the smaller pumpkins on the vine so that all the nutrients that go into the root go into one pumpkin, and then you can grow a massive, massive, massive pumpkin instead of a dozen small pumpkins.
Right.
And our mini classes were just small pumpkins, and yes, they were making money. Yes, they were successful, but they were taking nutrients away from our big pumpkin.
Got it. Yeah. I like that. And it's kind of like you said, your different phases, different stages, you needed to be there. And then you realized, okay, now we're moving into this next realm. Did you just kill those courses? Are they available to people who come into My Own Irresistible brand? How did you? Okay.
So now they're exclusive bonuses for joining us in our signature program. So all of our students who are in our program love it because they get all the extra little perks.
Yes.
But and we love it. Scott and I are very simple people in the sense that we really love simplifying everything.
Yes.
Our house, our belongings, our everything in our entire life and business, we just are always making simpler and uncluttering. We're always decluttering.
Yes.
And that's just kind of, that's a huge part of how we do our business and how we show up, because really for us, the more that we simplify and the more we streamline and the more we systematize, the clearer our heads are. So we show up to do our very, very best work when we do show up to work. And then when we're not working, we actually are resting and we are playing. And so, we love that.
Which is huge to you. How often do you launch, or is it always open, My Own Irresistible brand? Do you have, timed launches? Just talk to me about that model.
So we do launches occasionally.
Live launches, we'll probably do 1 to 2 live launches a year, maybe. But then we'll do some special opportunities for people to join at different times throughout the year, like a special promotion, or maybe on a special webinar or something like that. And so kind of the way that we've organized our schedule, especially this year with us staying still, but still being the adventurous kind, is we're doing like 60 days of hustle where we're, working on a launch or prepping for a launch or doing a webinar.
We'll do like multiple launches in that.
Yeah, and we'll do JV launches and things like that. And then 30 days of rest and play.
We basically do nothing.
We do nothing for 30 days. So we did nothing in December. We hustled, September or October, November, took December off. So now we're in hustle mode, January, February, and then March we're going to Israel and Paris.
Nice.
So yeah. So we kind of plan out the whole year in 90-day segments, but we make sure that in those 90 days, there's at least 30 days of just getting to do whatever we want to do. So this year there's going to be a lot of international travel.
Yep.
A lot of international travel.
Beautiful. I love that. That is rad. So how can people find out more about you? Where do you want to guide them? How can they stay in touch with the whole thing?
Yeah, so you can find basically everything we do at myownirresistiblebrand.com. And we give away free training.
Yeah, as soon as people opt in, they get, all the good stuff.
All the good stuff. So we have loads of free training that we give away. And then, you'll be in the know anytime we do a launch, anytime we open up enrollment.
Perfect. All right, y'all, myownirresistiblebrand.com. Hop on over there. Before I ask our finale question, you both were homeschooled, which I think is so cool. As you know, I am homeschooling my oldest son, Sean, right now, and it's already quite the adventure. I'm like, wow, this is so interesting. Yeah. What were the gifts of that experience for each of you?
So for me, I think it was that instead of just learning, that I was taught how to learn. That was so huge for me that, my mom it wasn't like my mom gave me a lecture on a particular topic and I took notes and, did the work or whatever, like a normal classroom setting. Instead, it was, here's this book, learn everything there is in this book. And so I was kind of in charge of my own education with her guidance, obviously. But what that taught me to do was to be able to figure out how I best retained information, how I best learned. And so it really shortcut a lot of things. And I found out later on when I was an adult that I'm actually dyslexic. And I didn't even know that growing up because I just was able to, instead of being taught in a specific manner, I was able to figure out how I best learned and then consume all the information that way.
And it's affected in business, it's affected him so much because there's nothing that Scott can't learn.
Well, I didn't know anything about computer programming. And then whenever we started our business, I taught myself how to code websites in basically like a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And so yeah, and when I got to college, it made college really easy because college in a lot of ways is that environment too, where you're expected to learn a lot on your own.
Right.
And then you come to class for lectures, but you're expected to,
it's on you.
to read the material and study and do the work. And I knew how to do that. And so many of my friends
did not.
In the more traditional school setting didn't know how to do that as well. And there was kind of a little bit of a learning curve in figuring out how to do college, whereas it came really easily for me, even being dyslexic.
Wow.
So I think that was one of the biggest benefits that I experienced from being homeschooled.
Yeah, I loved getting to really tap into the way that I learn. And actually in our branding school, that's what we have people do in week 1. One of the things we have them do is really figure out how do you learn best so that you can actually go through this program the way that you learn. And you can do all the exercises in different ways depending on your strengths. And so for me, I think the biggest thing was my mom, the way that she set it up was basically like, you have to get your school work done, but after it's done, you can go play. And that is obviously a big part of our business too, where when we work, we focus on that work. We actually show up to work at different times of the day. So I work best in the morning. Scott works best in the evening. So I show up when I wake up in the morning, that is literally like my brain is at its peak. So I come up with ideas at 7 o'clock in the morning because that is when my brain works best, and I get it done. And then after that, I can garden, or I can go to Disney World, I can go to the beach. And so I have this ability of focusing on my work, getting my work done, and realizing that there's a reward if I don't just, I'm very intentional. And if I'm very intentional, then that frees up more time for me to do other things. And so that has obviously affected, like Scott and I work on average about 5 to 10 hours a week. And we do that because we have systems, because we're so intentional when we do show up. And that's also a part of, I think homeschooling taught us that. It taught us how to be so careful with every moment of every day and not to give it away.
Right.
And so that was huge for me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I like I said, I am pleasantly surprised at how well it's going. And, we kind of got to this position like kicking and screaming, like, wait, well, hold on. What are we, what are we going to do? But my son was very clear, Mom, I want to be homeschooled. And I kind of was like, wait, hold on, let me look at some other things first. And now that we're in it, 'cause I just thought, who does that? I don't know. But yet my cousin homeschooled all 3 of her kids. They live in Virginia. They're all great kids and doing well. They're now in like public high school, but just, they know themselves and they're really, excelling and happy. And now we have this like burgeoning little community of homeschooling families around here who used to be part of the school that, we were happy at, but it just, now that I'm in it with Sean, I'm like, it wasn't the right environment for him. Like he just has his own ideas. He's a creative thinker. When he sees something that's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like he doesn't want to do it. He's like, it could be better this other way. And so, and I'm like, well, of course that's who he is. Like, look at his mother, me. I mean, like, one of my clients is like, of course your son is bucking that trend of like, and he went to a private, like, non-traditional school, but yet even that wasn't working for him because, I bucked the traditional like New York City executive life and was like, dude, this entrepreneurship thing is way better because you just call your own shots and make your own rules and you help people the way you want to help them. So thank you for sharing that. And again, Elise, I really appreciate your insights when I was originally going through this.
I feel like there's just so many lessons in that, even with building a business, because if you think about how many people are stuck in businesses that don't fit their strengths, they're trying to sell products that don't match up with their gifts. And they've created their own environment that's not working for them, which is why they're met with so much resistance. That's why they're not loving it the way that they should and that they can. And it's the same thing with like, your son, of him being like, no, Mom, like, this is not what's, best for me and how I learn and how I thrive. I just love that. Yeah. I love that. He's a budding entrepreneur already.
Oh, he is. He's got a lot of ideas. It's going to be It's going to be super fun. I'll keep y'all posted on it. Okay. Finale question. You can either answer jointly or individually, your call. What is the gutsiest move you've ever made and how does it inspire your life and work today?
I think, we kind of already talked about some of the craziest things we've done. I think for me, the gutsiest thing was leaving LA and going to Texas because I was so clinging to what I thought I wanted. And it was so devouring to me to be, the idea of like, I'm giving all this up and I'm moving to somewhere I don't want to be. And so
you're giving it up for the sake of something better though.
Right. And that's what ended up happening. And so it ended up being something that I'm so thankful that we were able to do that.
And I think for me, it was that pivot of like, we have this successful branding studio and we're going to pivot and create something new. We're going to repackage this in a new way. And those two things were just so crazy and turned our lives upside down. And for us, it's impacted us so deeply in the sense that literally nothing feels crazy anymore.
Right.
Like any idea that we come up with, our motto is just like, well, that doesn't sound that crazy. I mean, it's just not that crazy.
We tell people all the time, like, your crazy dreams aren't that crazy.
And we mean it with everything in us. And people could sit down with us and tell us the craziest thing. And we're like, oh, you could totally do that. That's not crazy at all. So there's nothing that would be crazy to us. Yep. And I think that just affects everything that we do because we're never, of course, you still deal with doubts and you still feel with fears, anxiety and all of those things. But if you believe to your core that literally anything that you want to do is not crazy, it affects everything. How could it not? So that's kind of been our our thing.
I love that. It's redefining crazy. Like, doesn't sound crazy. Just go freaking do that. Like, someone's done that before. You're not going to be the first one ever. Just go do that. Yep. Oh my gosh. I just love it. Well, you all are such a cute couple. I'm so happy for you. And it's so awesome. You both homeschooled. Like, that just means I don't think about my kids. Because did you ever feel like odd growing up? Like, I'm homeschooled. Like, did you ever get questions about that, or people are like, what's up with that? Like, how did you handle that? I think that's some of the social like implications of that, or did you just never care?
I never cared.
It was also a different era though. Homeschooling is a little bit different now, I feel like, than when we were growing up. There was less people doing it, and it was less in the mainstream than it is now.
And but my parents were always very intentional of like keeping us in social situations. So like we went to church, we went to youth group, we went to I played baseball since I was 6. I was on different teams. For 13 years I played baseball. So my family did a lot of very social active things, and I'm interacting with kids that making friends with kids that go to public school and go to private school and they're kind of like, you're homeschooled, that's kind of weird, but I'm in the same social situations as they are, so I'm developing the same social skills, and it's not I'm not like this sheltered homeschooler that's like never leaves the compound.
Yeah, we're kind of those people where people meet us and they find out like, oh, you were homeschooled, and they're like, oh no, I would have never, like, they just don't believe us that we were homeschooled. Like, you don't act homeschooled in quotes.
Right,
and
like
I
whatever
think there's
that's
just,
supposed to look
like. I just think there's a lot of times this stereotype that you have to look a certain way and act a certain way, and somehow you are just going to be this misfit for the rest of your life.
Right.
And that's just not the case, especially, and I think this comes down to the parenting and how the parents lead, and having such good parents for us and for your son is just, that's the difference, is that you are going to make sure that he is, a well-rounded individual and
exposed to lots of things.
So he's going to be a reflection of the love and the attention that you're pouring into him, and the time he gets to spend with you. So for us, it was, we feel lucky in the sense that our parents were, they were so proactive in making sure that really for me, my parents just wanted me to have the best education possible. And they wanted us to be able, their whole thing was they wanted us to be able to explore our curiosities, and they wanted us to explore the things we were passionate about. And so they didn't, even though we obviously had a standard education in the sense that you still have to do math and English and all those things, we were able to explore, like I was able to start designing when I was 12 years old, and I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I wasn't homeschooled. Like I had those pockets of time. I wasn't at school from 7 a.m. until 3 p.m. Not developing my strengths, not developing my skills or exploring my curiosities.
And dealing with like standardized tests. And sometimes, like, I look back, I went to public school the whole way through, and, I did well. I understood the game that was being played. I think that's just one of my strengths. Like, understand what game is being played, and I will play that game until I don't want to play the game anymore. And then I'm like, I'm out. See you guys. But I look back and, a lot of the things that I did was so like peer pressure. It was just like trying to fit in and wanting to, achieve this thing. And the only way I thought I could achieve it was to be with this group or to do these certain things. And some of those things like weren't that smart, like weren't safe, weren't really me, but that's just what I thought needed to happen. And so now that I'm just kind of, my eyes are being open to, I think once you become a parent too, you're just thrown lots of things that you just weren't quite sure that was going to be part of your life. And then it is. But what you said, exploring their curiosity, like that's huge. And I know with my oldest son especially, he's like one of the most curious, intrigued kids out there. And he has this way about him. And it'll be interesting with my other two, just to kind of see how we play it. But I'm so grateful to be on this road. I'm so grateful for entrepreneurship and giving me the freedom and flexibility to be able to create this thing the way it needs to be. And I want it to be for my life and for my family. And I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to spend some time with you all today.
Thank you. We loved it.
Yeah, so much fun. I loved every minute.
Me too. And we'll come down to Florida and we will hook up. And you guys, oh my gosh, you will die, because my husband actually, he technically works for Disney.
Oh, no.
We have free passes, like anytime we want to use them. Well, he works for ESPN. And yes, and so we have like all access Disney passes that we've used like one time since he's technically been on the ESPN staff.
Oh, well, then come on down.
Yeah, Disney date needs to happen.
Disney,
we have
party, exactly. And my kids will get him back. We like Animal Kingdom. I have to say, I really do.
Yes.
I appreciate Animal Kingdom, and I think I would like to go to like one of those water parks. I want to go to one of the. Do you guys go to the water parks?
Oh yeah.
We spend every Christmas Eve at one of the Disney water parks.
Yep, that's our tradition, and we love to go on Christmas Eve because it's 85.
And it's empty.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we also, that's like one of our things that we love to do, even just during the week. Like, hey, let's go to the pool, let's grab a drink, let's bring a book, and let's go on a couple slides. And so that's like one of our, because when we go to Disney about every week, once a week, but we do different things every time. So sometimes we go to one of the fancy restaurants.
Yes.
Sometimes we go to the water park.
We play mini golf.
Rent
a boat.
Yeah, we do different stuff every time.
You guys are fun. You're fun. Yeah,
we love it.
Scott,
we're actually going to go to Disney now, after this podcast is recorded. We're heading to Disney.
Oh my gosh, go and have fun and ride something fun for me, okay?
I will.
Amazing, y'all. Okay, everybody listening, go check out their work. My own irresistiblebrand.com. Scott and Elise, you are just wonderful souls doing fantastic work in the world. Keep it up. This is Jenny Fennick sending you so much love, light, and faith as you get gutsy. I will see you next time.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Get Gutsy with Jenny Fennig. Gutsy leaders unite and ignite.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Get Gutsy as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. Are you responsible for leading and growing your spiritual business? If so, I have a free tool for you that will help you spread your message like wildfire. It's called the Sacred Marketing Puzzle, and it's a one-page PDF guide that simplifies the often mysterious and confusing world of marketing. When you use sacred marketing tools to amplify your message, you'll provide huge value to your tribe and grow your business. What are you waiting for? Go to jennyfennick.com/puzzle to get yours instantly. That's jennyfennick.com/puzzle. Gutsy leaders, unite.